Sejam muitíssimo bem-vindos para mais uma edição do nosso Crescimento Connect. Meu nome é Rafael Linhares, eu sou trainer aqui na Crescimento e é um prazer estar com vocês hoje para um bate-papo sobre um assunto que foi muito requisitado por vários dos nossos participantes nos últimos 2 eventos que a gente propiciou. Nesse momento de isolamento, de pandemia, um dos grandes desafios que as organizações estão enfrentando está relacionado diretamente com cultura organizacional e com os valores vividos por essas organizações. Por isso, o tema do nosso evento de hoje é Cultura Organizacional, antes, durante e depois da crise. E a gente vai abordar um pouco sobre como construir times e empresas mais produtivos e engajados por meio da gestão de cultura. Para tratar sobre esse tema, nós convidamos 2 dos maiores especialistas sobre o assunto que existem. Um deles é o Guilherme Marbach, sócio-diretor da nossa Business Unity de Cultura Organizacional aqui na Crescimento e uma referência na América Latina sobre o tema, com diversos cases muito bacanas já aplicados no mercado. E além de uma presença super especial diretamente do Reino Unido, nós vamos ter o prazer de conversar também com o Sr. Richard Barrett, especialista internacional em cultura organizacional e criador da metodologia dos 7 níveis de consciência. Gui, bom dia! Como vai?
Bom dia.
Bom dia, é um grande prazer estar com vocês aqui hoje, compartilhar um pouco do que é essa história, tudo que nós temos aprendido, especialmente com a presença do Richard Barrett. Thank you for your time, Richard. It's a pleasure being here with you. I couldn't imagine 9 years ago when I started working with your methodology that we would share the stage so many times like today. It's amazing. Could you greet our Brazilian audience?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm very, very, very fond of Brazil, and I had a ticket to come to Brazil in 3 weeks' time, but of course the flight got cancelled and nobody can travel, so I'm going to postpone my trip until maybe November or later this year, when we can meet people. No point in coming if you can't meet anybody. Yeah. So anyhow, I'm looking forward to coming to Brazil again, and hopefully in the near future when we've all got over this virus pandemic.
Ok. Pessoal, eu estarei com vocês no chat, então enviem suas perguntas como de costume. A gente vai ter um bate-papo entre o Richard e o Gui agora na sequência, e ao final deles eu retorno com as principais perguntas do chat para que a gente possa interagir um pouco e aprofundar alguns assuntos que sejam mais relevantes. Gui, eu vou tirar meu vídeo e vou deixar vocês à vontade então, já desde de antemão, muito obrigado aí pelo tempo, pela disponibilidade de vocês. Mr. Richard, it's a pleasure to hear from you. So I'm waiting in advance for you guys to start, and nice talking for all of us.
Good. Let's get going.
Ok, pessoal. Olha só, nós tivemos muitas solicitações que essa transmissão fosse feita com tradução simultânea, e a gente identificou tudo que nós vemos que essa coisa da tradução simultânea não funciona muito bem, existe uma série de questões técnicas. Então, nós antecipamos e colocamos legendas em português para que todos consigam entender a nossa conversa, que a gente vai lançar para vocês a partir de agora. E logo depois desse período legendado, nós voltaremos, eu e o Richard, para perguntas e respostas. A gente vai ter mais ou menos aí uns 20 minutos dessa conversa legendada, e logo depois dessa conversa legendada a gente vai entrar no ar conversando em inglês e em português e ajudando para que todos possam compreender. Pepe, está contigo.
It is a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you.
Especially at the moment when the world has undergone many changes since the pandemic caused by the COVID-19 virus. Many have already realized that this will forever change the world and organizations. If I may, I'd like to hear more from you, okay? We are living in an incredibly challenging moment for humanity. How do you see it from a global consciousness perspective?
Well, I think we're in the face of an amazing opportunity if we care to take it. So my belief is that we can possibly go in 2 directions. one direction, which I'm not in favor of, is that nations become more isolated and they focus more on themselves. But this is not going to solve anything, because the problems we have are actually global and transnational. So the other direction we could all go in is that we could go into a larger sense of connectedness, a larger sense of cooperation, because we know, and it's been proved to us, that it's very difficult for us to survive if we don't work together. Now, this is the first time in many, many years something of this scale has happened. I think the last time was the Great Depression, and it goes back many years. So we are faced with this challenge. Shall we evolve and grow, or shall we retreat into our shells? Well, we'll wait and see. However, my theory is, because the evolution of consciousness of humanity has been going on for more than 200,000 years, that we will continue to grow and evolve. Otherwise, no more Homo sapiens.
Yes, perfect. That's very inspiring thought. I see what you were saying, and I hope you are correct. Coming to organizations, how do you believe this profound change can affect organizations, and how this will influence their culture?
Well, I see two or three possibilities. The first possibility is that organizations will recognize that global life conditions or societal life conditions are fundamentally important to their success. I said 20-odd years ago, I said that business is a wholly owned subsidiary of society, and society is a wholly owned subsidiary of the environment. And what has just happened proves the point that business is a wholly owned subsidiary of society. If the society crashes, business crashes. And so that's exactly what's been happening all over the world. Our society has been crashing and our businesses have been crashing. Some companies will never recover. Some will go bankrupt. So we have to think about how we can prevent this happening again. So what does that mean for organizations? Well, the first thing it means is organizations have to become more resilient. And what does more resilient mean? It means more cooperative, more working together for the good of the whole. And when I say working together for the good of the whole, I mean working together for society. So this is the first point, that organizations will become, in order to survive, more resilient. Now, how will they become more resilient? Well, I mentioned working together, but actually that's part of the evolutionary paradigm that's been going on for thousands, if not millions of years. When a threat reaches a certain level that you cannot cope with as an individual, let's say an individual organization, then you bond together with other organizations to create a higher order entity so that you are more resilient. Now, if the threat gets larger and larger, then those groups of organizations will actually come together to form some form of higher order entity, to work together for the good of the whole. Now, what does this mean? It means, I think that and I said this quite a long time ago, that companies in the same industry, like pharmaceuticals or companies in another industry, whatever it is, will need to come together and agree on the rules of competition. Now, we have a global competition in the Olympic Games. Now, we have the Olympic Games, so we have a competition, but every nation works within the rules, the framework of rules that guide the Olympic tradition. And I think this is what's going to happen in organizations, that organizations working in the same industries will need to get together to agree the rules, the overall rules, and then they can work in competition within that framework. And these overall rules will all be about how to build a better and a stronger and a more resilient future for humanity.
Perfect.
So that I think is key. I think there's something else that we learn, organizations are going to learn. I mean, we've learned that actually some organizations can continue working with people working at home. We don't all need to go to the office every day. And what does that mean? It means that we'll be less transport, there'll be less pollution. I noticed the other day that in Milan, which has been very strongly hit by the coronavirus, the city are now talking about making 35 kilometers of pedestrian and bicycle areas in the center, because that's what they've had over the past 2 months, and they like it. And so, so here's an opportunity to take this new experience and say, well, how can we all benefit? Pollution has gone down throughout the whole world. Can we use this technology that you and I are using right now in order to cut down on the number of meetings, cut down on the amount of travel? Of course we can. We've just done it. So that's another amazing opportunity. So every time there's a problem, I always say to myself, well, what's the opportunity? And well, we've been finding opportunities to change the way that we are. So there's two things that I think it could mean for businesses in the future.
Perfect. Certainly, everything that's happening will change the organization a lot, especially the way to cooperate, to collaborate, as you talked, and also the business model too, and the values too. It could be changed a lot. Why it's important at the moment to talk about values in this uncertain and changing moment. And I would like to hear thinking in the 7 model too.
Yeah. Well, so, I've been saying for 20 some years that we need to shift from belief-based decision-making to values-based decision-making. And finally, people are beginning to get the idea, because actually beliefs separate. And the interesting thing about beliefs is that we assume that what's been happening over the past 10, 15 or 20 years is what's going to happen in the future. And therefore, beliefs in that situation are a good way of making decisions. But we're not living in those times anymore. We're living in very disruptive times. Things are changing rapidly. You never know what's around the corner. And so using beliefs to make decisions just doesn't work anymore. So we need a stronger anchor, a foundation for decision making. And that basically comes back to values. What is it that we truly, honestly value deep in our hearts? And it's those that should drive our decision making. So values are fundamentally important. They're the next step up from beliefs in making decisions. And so what does that mean for organizations? It means that organizations have to be values driven. And that means agreeing on a set of values that they can work together so that they can create internal cohesion. Now, when you're building the vision of an organization, usually it's the leadership team that has all of the information necessary and the knowledge and the perspective to create a long-term vision. But as far as values are concerned, everybody needs to be involved in values, because everybody has their values. And the more you can align the values of the employees and with the values of the organization, or put it the other way around, align the values of the organization with the values of the employees, then you're going to have a more cohesive a more high-performing organization.
Perfect. That's perfect advice to drive organization through the crisis, especially. How can, Richard, culture management in the organization help with the results during the crisis and collaborate especially with the reshaping the companies for the new world after it?
So I think, as I said earlier, this pause, which is completely disruptive, the way that many companies work. Not all of them. Some have had to continue. But the pause has given us a moment to reconsider and think about what the hell we're doing with our humanity and the planet. And so it will be important as we come out of this crisis for the leadership teams of organizations to get together and say, what does this mean for us? How are we going to become more resilient? What do we need to change in the way we work in order to become more resilient? I think every leadership team should have that type of inquiry. It's so fundamentally important because life as it was is not going to continue. And so evolution has always been about adaptability, and we need to embrace the idea of adaptability in our organization and the way we are. Now, this embracing adaptability has fundamental repercussions on leadership, and particularly the values of leaders. They're going to, because the culture of an organization is a reflection of leadership consciousness or leadership values. So if we're going to have a new way of working, so the leaders are going to have to change. They're going to have to change how they view their business. And they're going to have to view their business in the light of what I said earlier, in that how can our business contribute to the well-being of society and the well-being of the environment? So we're going to see much more focus on sustainability. So this is an important discussion, and I hope that lots of companies will take this opportunity to rethink how they are and how they behave.
Perfect. And about the risk of the leadership facing the crisis, working focused especially or exclusively on the level one as a crisis manager?
Yeah, level one consciousness and the level one leader is a crisis manager. And it's very obvious at a world level that some leaders have really got it and other leaders didn't. Now, if we look at the leader of New Zealand, she really got it. Really, she got it. I mean, they've wiped out the coronavirus already in New Zealand, while many other countries are struggling. So becoming a crisis manager is really important, or being ready to be a crisis manager is fundamentally important. So this leads to another thought. So if we're going to be more resilient, we need to know how to manage crises, and we need to think through ahead of time how to manage crises. I was watching a news report about the United Kingdom and about their preparedness with all of this personal protective equipment, and they weren't prepared, and they could have been. And so it's like little things like that. It's like, well, okay, so what do we need to do to be prepared if something like this happens again? What are the procedures that we need to follow if we have a crisis? I mean, we don't think about that, but it's fundamentally important to think through that ahead of time. So if something similar happens again at the global level, we have a plan. We have a plan how to get over the immediate threat. We have a plan that these employees will work from home, these employees won't. But we need a plan to deal with crisis in every organization, and every organization will be different because every organization will have different types of suppliers. So how can my organization guarantee that it gets supplies in times of a crisis? Well, there's only one way to do that, and that's enter into collaboration with your suppliers. That's, again, cooperation. So there are many things to think about at this time in order to be more resilient in the future.
Perfect. Richard, it's always a pleasure to listen to you, and every time I learn something new to reassure how powerful is your model to support the evolution of organizations. To round off, I'd like to hear about worldviews. I know that it's your passion. How can this moment contribute to change the worldviews and the evolution of the global consciousness?
Well, as you know, I've written a book called Worldview Dynamics and the Wellbeing of Nations. It just came out. On my website for the Barrett Academy, I have all these measurements about global consciousness. And what I've realized, and I've been studying for the past 4 or 5 years, is that there has been an evolution of worldviews that's been going on for 200,000 years. First, we lived in small family groups. We were hunter-gatherers, and I call that clan awareness. And then we moved into tribe awareness. And then as we evolved from tribes into city-states, we moved into state awareness. Then around the 5th century, we moved into what I call nation awareness, when in state awareness there was chaos. I mean, and you still see nations operating like that. North Korea is a good example. The leader is never safe, and so there's a very fear-driven culture. Then we moved into nation awareness, where brought some order through monotheistic religions. And then we moved into, from there, where we dropped religion as any guidance, and we moved into wealth awareness, which was all about how do we make more money. And that's basically the paradigm that is ruling the world, but not all countries are there. And then the Nordic nations went one stage further, and they said, we need to shift to a higher order consciousness. I call it people awareness, where instead of focusing on me making more money, how about distributing the wealth so that nobody has any more survival, safety, or security needs? And that's what the Nordic nations did, and they created a higher consciousness levels. And you can see that because at the top of every measurement of consciousness, they're always at the top, and the top of well-being. Now, what the current crisis has done is it's thrusting us forward into what I call humanity awareness. Now, when I started this humanity awareness initiative 2 or 3 years ago, in fact, you were there at the second meeting we had, it was an idea. And I had no idea that this pandemic would come along. The pandemic is going to force us into this new, what I call humanity awareness initiative. Now, what does that mean? It means we've got to stop thinking about our nations as separate and start thinking transnationally. Now, we can't rely on our present ego-driven leaders to do that, because, you look around and there are very, very few countries which have evolved leaders at a political level. They're mostly ego-driven and therefore separate. They want their countries to be the biggest, the best, the mightiest. Well, we need to shift into beyond people awareness, where there's a much better way of governing, where there is much more discussion and much more open communication, into what I call transnational awareness, and that's the worldview of humanity awareness. And so I'm working on what's known as the Humanity Awareness Initiative. Now, very soon, within a matter of 3 weeks probably, I'm going to launch 13 e-learning courses. One of them, which will include what I call an e-info course on humanity awareness. And there will be other e-learning courses on personal evolution, organizational evolution, and societal evolution. So in they're nearly finished. I'm just waiting for the website to be changed. And so by the middle of May, a lot of my thinking is going to be out there in these e-learning courses. So I'm looking forward to that happening. And then in June and July, I'm going to take my book, The New Leadership Paradigm, which is available in Portuguese. I'm going to take that book and make it into an e-learning course. It's 5 e-learning courses. The overall overview for what will leadership look like in humanity awareness, and then 4 courses on leading self, leading team, leading an organization, and leading in society. All of that will be done. I'm just starting work on that. That'll be finished July, beginning of August, and that will then form part of the e-learning program. And there will be 18 of them in all. I'm very excited about putting these out into the world, and because they bring together all of the ideas in my book, my last 13 books, they all come together in these e-learning courses.
Perfect, perfect. We will waiting anxiously to that. And just to finish, tell me more about the role of the organizations, and especially leading your internal group or their people as a citizenship, okay, to support the process of evolution, straight going to the humanity awareness.
Well, this is the topic of going to be the topic of the e-learning courses. It's really so what does it look like if you're leading yourself in this new paradigm or this new worldview? What does it look like if you're leading a team in this new worldview? What does it look like if you're leading an organization in this new worldview? What does it look like if you're leading in society? So I'm going to put out, if you like, a vision of leadership for a whole new way of being in the world, which supports the evolution of humanity and and protects and nurtures our planet. That's my idea. Now, that I'm afraid is sadly missing. There are many types of leadership course, but none of them really recognize that the type of leadership that we have reflects the worldview of humanity. So the type of leadership we have reflects what I call wealth awareness, which is the awareness of the USA, the United Kingdom, all of these nations that are focused on making money. So the type of leadership we have reflects that. And then if you go to the Scandinavian countries, they have a different type of leadership, one that's much more socially intelligent or emotionally intelligent. And so to get to humanity awareness, we're going to need another type of leadership. And so that's the type of leadership I'm going to be putting out into the world on these e-learning courses.
Olá a todos, estamos aí novamente de volta, and we're back with Mr. Richard and Guilherme. E agora vamos começar aí um pouco da nossa conversa, do nosso bate-bola, com algumas perguntas que vieram do nosso chat, e o pessoal tem algumas curiosidades. A primeira pergunta eu vou fazer para o Sr. Richard, vou fazer ela rapidinho aqui em português, eu vou perguntar para ele um pouco, as pessoas têm um pouco de visão sobre o mundo e elas reagem a essa visão e passam através disso a operar nos 7 níveis de consciência, e as organizações também. Eu vou pedir para ele falar um pouquinho mais sobre os modelos dos 7 níveis de consciência que ele desenvolveu. Mr. Richard, I would like to start with you, if I may, please. You've said on this brief conversation that people have a vision first, and then they operate through the 7 level of consciousness theory, and so does the organizations. what I would like to hear from you is a little bit more about the 7 level of consciousness theory. If you could explain a little bit better for us, and then link with how does people see the world and then react to that. And,
yeah, sure.
And
so I'll begin the story 24 years ago when I recognized that Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs wasn't quite complete. And so I needed to define higher levels of self-actualization. And so I built the 7 levels model. And then I realized that whatever values you have, they belong to the different levels of consciousness. So if you're focused on survival, that's level 1. If you're focused on relationships, that's level 2. If you're focused on self-esteem, that's level 3. If you want to, if you get to the point in your life where you want to let go of your fears and let go of your conditioning, then you move to level 4. At that point, you kind of begin to find out who you are. And then having found out who you are, you begin to connect with the deeper level of meaning in your life, your soul consciousness. And you begin to find out, well, what am I passionate about? What is it that I'm born to do? And at the previous stage, we like to explore the things that we are good at and see what we like and don't like. And then we move to the next stage, into the self-actualization stage, where we become passionate and about being and doing or living our soul destiny. And then, having got past that stage, we now want to, because we know and love what we do, we want to make a difference in the world. And to do that, we have to connect. That's the next stage. And then finally, this becomes a way of life, and we enter into the realm of service. So each of those are levels of consciousness, but actually there are also stages of development. So the first 3 stages are biologically driven, because our mind, our brain is growing and developing during the first 24 years of our lives. So the first 2 years of our lives, we have a reptilian mind brain focused on survival. And then for 7 or 8 years, our limbic mind brain, our emotional mind, is dominant. And then at age 8, our rational mind becomes dominant. And our rational mind keeps on growing and developing until around 22 or 23. I mean, we don't have fully functioning brains and fully functioning minds until we're in our early 20s. That's why teenagers do really stupid things, because they don't have a fully functioning brain. I mean, I was there, I did it, you know. But and then we enter the individuating stage, which is from about mid-20s to late 30s, where we find out what we're good at. We let go of all of the beliefs that we're taught by our family and our culture, and we begin to find out who we are, what our values are. And then comes the self-actualization stage, as I mentioned earlier, where we begin to get in touch with what we're passionate about, our soul expression. And then next comes, well, making that available to the world by connecting with other people so we can make a difference, and so on. And finally, you get to my age, where all you want to do is be of service to the world. So we grow in stages of development, but we also operate at levels of consciousness. And normally the level of consciousness we operate at will be the same as the stage of development we've reached. However, if we have unmet needs from the first 3 stages, survival, safety, or security, we will always fall back to those levels of consciousness, even if we've reached the individuating stage. The moment we have a threat or we lose our job, we fall back to a lower level of consciousness. So we grow in stages and we operate at levels. Now, one final point is that we live inside worldview. So there's a worldview in Brazil, there's a worldview in all the different countries, and we have our own worldview. Now, when your worldview coincides with the worldview of your community, it could be your organization or your nation, then you feel at ease. When your worldview doesn't align with the worldview of your country or your organization, you're not going to feel so good. In fact, you're going to get depressed. So alignment between worldview, level of consciousness, and stage of development is fundamentally important. In fact, I mean, just today, I was working on that part of the leadership program for my e-learning program. And that was exactly what I was looking at. I was looking at, well, you know, how do you align these things? And the key to evolution is to move people up through the different stages of psychological development, because whatever stage of psychological development people are at, and if they live in a democracy, they will elect a leader at that same stage of development. And so as you move the stage of development upwards, the level of consciousness in the nation will increase. And in organizations, it's slightly different because we don't elect our leaders. And so, but it's the same applies, that the stage of psychological development of the leader is actually reflected in the culture of the organization. So in some organizations, we have highly evolved leaders and we have wonderful companies to work for. And in others, we don't. I hope that helped.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. I'll translate a little bit for our participants, sure. Okay? Bom, pessoal, eu perguntei para o Richard qual é a relação entre a visão de mundo que as pessoas e as organizações podem ter com o modelo de 7 níveis de consciência. E aí, vou tentar resumir bastante para vocês, para a gente poder avançar em outras perguntas. Ele explicou um pouco sobre o modelo dos 7 níveis. Então, dos 7, os primeiros 3 níveis são relacionados muito mais às nossas necessidades até biológicas, físicas. Então, o primeiro nível da sobrevivência, o segundo nível para relacionamento, e o terceiro nível, quando eu busco me sentir de fato bom bastante para estar ali com aquele grupo. Nesses primeiros 3 níveis, a gente se desenvolve até mais ou menos os early 20s, como ele falou, 20 a 24 anos. É o tempo que leva para o nosso cérebro estar maduro. Então ele até brincou. Por isso que nesse período os adolescentes fazem bastante bobagem, né? Porque ainda não estão completamente desenvolvidos. Mas a partir disso, a tendência é que a gente comece a se livrar um pouco aí das cascas as crenças que eram dos nossos pais ou da nossa cultura e começa a se descobrir. Com isso leva a gente para o 4º nível de consciência, onde a gente começa a se transformar e se de fato individuar ou individualizar, buscar quem sou eu e começar a viver a partir disso. Os 3 níveis superiores, a partir do 5º ao 7º, são níveis onde eu busco fazer, primeiro, viver daquilo que eu entendo que é o meu perfil ou que sou eu quero colocar aquilo em prática. Depois eu busco fazer a diferença no mundo, no nível 6, e para isso eu vou precisar me conectar com outras pessoas. Então as conexões aí são muito importantes, até que eu possa de fato ascender para o 7º nível, onde eu faço a diferença no mundo apenas como um servidor, de fato, sem buscar nada para mim. Gui, falei alguma coisa errada?
Não, tá perfeito.
Tá mais ou menos na linha. Legal.
Tá perfeito. Vamos embora.
E aí o que o Richard fechou falando foi: as organizações e as pessoas estão, o exemplo de uma democracia. A minha visão de mundo, quando eu encontro no mundo algo que bate com a minha visão, eu me sinto atendido, os meus valores estão atendidos e eu vivo mais plenamente. Quando isso não bate, a gente começa a ter alguns tipos de disfunções. E numa empresa isso é igual. Então, se as pessoas operam num determinado nível e o líder opera em outro, a gente vai ter uma disfunção. E os líderes das empresas são completamente responsáveis por disseminar esses valores e criarem e operarem a cultura da empresa. Gui, aproveitando a deixa dos 7 níveis, então, e aí te passando a bola, se você puder trazer para a gente um pouco, teve algumas perguntas. A Aline Carvalho foi uma pessoa que trouxe nessa linha, acho que muito próximo da Valéria Barros, considerando aí os modelos dos 7 níveis de consciência. Primeiro, em que níveis as organizações deveriam focar nesse momento em que a gente está passando, né? E aí, trazendo o insumo que veio dos nossos participantes, da Valéria e da Aline, como lidar com cultura organizacional e com valores mais aspiracionais nesse momento que a gente está passando e que nos parece que dita que a gente deveria operar ou sobreviver basicamente ali no nível 1.
Legal, muito bom, muito bom. Veja, diante de um grande desafio, como o Richard falou, nós nos desenvolvemos nos níveis de consciência, mas operamos nesses níveis e, eventualmente, isso pode ser situacional. Então, diante de uma grande ameaça como essa que apareceu, é absolutamente natural que as organizações todas elas venham, apontem para o nível 1, o nível de sobrevivência. E naturalmente isso foi o que aconteceu na grande maior parte das organizações. É claro que existem organizações em diferentes níveis de maturidade em que sofreram diferentes níveis de impacto diante do que está acontecendo, inclusive algumas organizações que estão se destacando e que estão crescendo e que estão ocupando espaços no mercado que são espaços super importantes, né? Então, espaços novos que apareceram, mas as coisas efetivamente elas estão mudando muito rapidamente. Nós estamos trabalhando e operando a partir de outras condições e de outro tipo de desafios. Mas o que efetivamente... Então, veja, isso depende muito do estágio da organização, embora todas elas, a zero de jogo, olharam rapidamente para o nível 1, e todos nós seremos avaliados ali na frente por ter tido a capacidade de superar essa crise, ou seja, chegar do outro lado do rio. Então a gente tem que cuidar do nosso caixa, a gente tem que efetivamente dar ação a isso. Mas ao mesmo tempo a gente também tem que olhar para toda a qualidade de nossas relações, aí vamos ao nível 2 e verificar como é que isso está acontecendo, porque ao mesmo tempo nós temos que acolher as nossas pessoas, ao mesmo tempo a gente tem que acolher os nossos fornecedores, os nossos clientes, enfim, toda a nossa rede de relações. Essa também é uma bela oportunidade de nós olharmos para como nós estamos operando e nos desapegarmos daquilo que não funcionava muito bem, focar na qualidade, melhoria de processos. Então, aproveitar essa oportunidade para a gente conseguir evoluir, né? Nós mesmos na Crescimento estamos fazendo muito isso, a gente tem trabalhado demais, até, por exemplo, esse momento aqui é um momento em que a gente também está usando do que é toda a nossa aprendizagem com novas formas de fazer e inovação, que aí estamos no nível 4, então os líderes também devem olhar para esse lugar. No nível 5 é o nível da integridade do que nós somos efetivamente, que é onde nós somos, e as organizações estão sendo super desafiadas enquanto efetivamente elas estão honrando ou não aqueles valores que elas pregam. Então, esse é um momento em que isso está muito sob desafio. E também nós seremos avaliados não só se conseguimos sobreviver, mas como nós fizemos, o quanto nós estamos sendo congruentes com aquilo que a gente prega. E, ao mesmo tempo, olhando para o nível 6, também é a hora de nós olharmos a nossa rede de relação, como a gente pode cooperar, como a gente pode colaborar. Quer dizer, o Richard falou bastante sobre isso, para poder cumprir com o nosso papel do serviço. Então, de uma maneira geral, é importante as organizações, claro, cuidarem daquilo que é o básico, mas, ao mesmo tempo, não perderem de vista que elas serão vencedoras se aproveitarem essa oportunidade desse repensar, como o Richard falou, aproveitarem essa pausa para observarem a sua organização em full spectrum, avaliando como está se comportando os valores e as energias operadas em cada um dos 7 níveis, sem considerar... sem deixar de considerar, claro, organizações que estão extremamente desafiadas e trabalhando para sobreviver. Mas elas vão conseguir sobreviver se elas conseguirem inovar nível 4, utilizar de todo o potencial das suas pessoas nível 2, trabalhar com mais eficiência nível 3 e com a sua integridade. Nesses aspectos, essa inclusão e esse papel dos líderes com total abertura, transparência, com o mundo como ele é e o momento como ele é fundamental.
Muito bom, Gui. Muito obrigado. Richard, I'd like to talk to you again. I have a question from Gabriela Presto here, and she wants to know the following. In humanity history, she believes that every time you have a crisis, not necessarily it comes with a consciousness development or an upgrade, if we can say that. Do you believe that we're going to have some sort of upgrade mind consciousness in this, after this pandemic crisis we're living on? Or how can we, if you don't believe it's going to happen, how can we manage to make it possible so our consciousness as a global community could increase a little bit?
So when you look back at the history of humanity, there have been 5 triggers which have triggered a new stage of psychological development. And each one took us to a new worldview. Now, sometimes it takes 10, 50, 100, 200 years after the first trigger for that new worldview to emerge. For example, the worldview of wealth awareness actually began in the 16th century. The worldview of people awareness, which is the worldview of the Nordic nations, actually began to evolve in the 18th century. So there is a time lag, but there are triggers all along. And so over time, the consciousness of nations moves up. And I'm now measuring that. If you go to my website, I've been measuring the consciousness of nations from 2014, 16, 18, and now 19. And you can see that global consciousness has been evolving up to 2018. However, between 2018 and 2019, it went down. And it went down for two main reasons. One, an increase in, well, I guess we would call it social distancing now, but actually it went down in terms of social connection, more discrimination in the last year. And also the went down in terms of financial growth or economic performance, let me put it that way. So what is going to happen now is that we were already getting ready for a shift upwards because of global warming, because of the climate crisis. I've been predicting that the climate crisis cannot be resolved by any nation on its own. We have to work together to do that. That demands a higher level of consciousness. And so I've been saying for some number of years now, well, what is going to trigger this new worldview will be the climate crisis. And now comes the pandemic, and it's an accelerator. I think it's like, oh, wow, here's another reason why we need to move to our sense of transnational identity. This is another reason why we need to move upwards. So I'm of the belief that it is going to happen very soon now. And I'm also part of a group known as Future Capital, which has been working now for a year to try to change the financial systems of our world by bringing more consciousness to the way in which we use money. And that idea is gaining a lot of momentum, and we are linking that through to the United Nations. So this is something that's actually happening. It's early days, but so I'm very heartened that this is happening, and also that the Future Capital Initiative, as it is called, has embraced the idea of the Humanity Awareness Initiative. And so I have started in the last 2 weeks to create a group of people to implement humanity awareness all over the world. And at this particular moment, I have a surprise for Guilherme, because I'm going to invite him to our next meeting of the implementation group for humanity awareness, along with 1 or 2 other Brazilian people. So, yeah, so this is all, you know, it's painful, but it's all good news. Here is an amazing opportunity for us to move forward. Very sad that many people had to die, sad that people had to lose their jobs. But, you know, in each difficult moment, there's always a ray of light. There's always an opportunity. And that's what you have to focus on. That's what we have to, that's where we need to go. And now we have an opportunity to do that. Stop there, that's enough.
No, don't feel like that. Bem, pessoal, de maneira resumida, o Richard comentou um pouco que as mudanças, elas não vêm acompanhadas diretamente de uma mudança na vida, de uma mudança de visão. Então, se a gente for pegar as crises anteriores que a gente tinha, em algum momento algo acontecia, as pessoas mudavam o seu ponto de vista, porém isso leva alguns anos, às vezes 5, 10, 200, 500 anos, para que a mudança cultural, as pessoas estejam vivendo de uma maneira diferente. Então, primeiro vem uma visão, depois a civilização acompanha e cria uma nova visão, e a coisa vai rolando mais ou menos assim. Ele contou aqui pra gente que ele formou um grupo há mais ou menos um ano, que são pessoas orientadas em como acelerar essa mudança que a humanidade precisa, ou levar a humanidade para um novo nível de consciência. E ele embasa isso sobre a visão que a gente tem hoje de dinheiro, como as empresas, organizações, as pessoas e os países trabalham com a medida de gerar mais lucro ou gerar mais dinheiro, e que ele gostaria de dar uma nova visão, uma nova maneira de encarar essa situação para que a gente pudesse elevar o padrão de consciência global. Inclusive, ele fez uma surpresa aí para o Gui. Eu não sei se você sabia disso já, mas ele convidou o Gui para fazer parte desse grupo, disse que ainda vai convidar mais uns 2 ou 3 brasileiros para que as pessoas levem essa recomendação para a Organização das Nações Unidas. Então, é de fato um projeto muito sério, muito relevante, muito bacana de saber que está acontecendo. O Gui, eu queria trazer um pouco isso que a gente conversou agora para o contexto corporativo, né? Se uma empresa quiser também, um líder está ouvindo a gente, alguém que seja do RH, enfim, um CEO, quiser levar a organização dele para um outro patamar de valores, um outro patamar de nível de consciência, quiser operar num nível superior, que tipo de ferramentas existem, por onde começar, o que pode ser feito?
Ok, obrigado, Rafa. É muito bom participar desse processo com o Richard. Na realidade, a gente já participamos já de uma reunião sobre esse tema em Oxford no final do ano passado, e ótimo saber que a gente vai ter agora esse novo encontro para disparar as iniciativas. Isso é muito bom, ele fez uma surpresa realmente hoje, mas veja, eu queria começar a responder isso daí compartilhando um pouco do que tem acontecido. A gente tem hoje aproximadamente 18 projetos de transformação cultural em andamento. E nesse processo de transformação cultural, utilizando as ferramentas da fundamentação do Richard, dos 7 níveis de consciência, desse modelo, dentro da metodologia Crescimento, a gente tem trabalhado muito fortemente nisso, e é interessante que nesse momento muitas das organizações que estão no estágio de grande desafio, grande dificuldade, deram uma parada, mas a grande maior parte dos projetos deram uma acelerada, justamente porque o tema tem vindo à pauta. É trabalhar a partir de entendimento dos significados, se efetivamente nós estamos honrando os nossos valores. Isso até é um pouco de uma questão que eu vi no chat agora há pouco, que foi formulada, como manter com os nossos valores. Essa é a hora que os nossos valores realmente eles ficam expostos, eles estão na frente, a gente vai passar a fazer as nossas escolhas, então os nossos valores estão desafiados. É uma hora de revisitá-los. Então, os projetos avançaram e as organizações estão atentas e preocupadas com isso. E muitas de que não estavam, está começando a cair um pouco mais a ficha, digamos assim, da importância que tem a cultura dentro do contexto do equilíbrio das organizações para que elas avancem. E nesse aspecto, nós da Crescimento, né, que temos a missão de mudar o mundo, transformando pessoas em líderes extraordinários e empresas e organizações mais sustentáveis e humanas, nós trabalhamos e cumprimos a nossa missão através de todos os nossos processos, os projetos grandes de transformação cultural em empresas de portes diferentes, desde uma pequena empresa familiar até uma grande multinacional. Como nós temos feito isso nesses últimos 10 anos, também nós certificamos as pessoas nessa metodologia do modelo dos 7 níveis de consciência da Barrett Value Century. E também nós estamos agora até lançando um fundamento para que alguém que não mexeu com isso ainda comece a dar uma atenção a esse tema de uma forma estruturada. E eu queria fechar com usando um pouco, linkando um pouco a resposta última do Richard, nós estamos diante de uma oportunidade muito grande desse processo de evolução. E a nossa crença é que as organizações elas são a estrutura que tem a maior capacidade dessa reflexão de forma estruturada para ajudar a contribuir com a evolução da sociedade. Então, aquilo que a gente tem falado muito de, nossa, essa geração, os milênios, os Y, que vêm mais conectado com o propósito e tal, isso está deveras aceso nesse momento. E as organizações que elas vão chegar lá na frente e serem bem-sucedidas são aquelas que estão cuidando, inclusive, disso. Porque não sabemos em que medida isso vai avançar, mas sabemos que vamos avançar enquanto consciência da humanidade. E nesse aspecto, o papel dos líderes organizacionais não só preocupado com a sua própria sustentabilidade, porque ele precisa conectar com essa nova demanda social. Ele também é um agente que tem agora nas mãos a capacidade também de influenciar para alavancar isso mais ainda na sociedade como um todo, para que a gente consiga evoluir um pouco mais nas visões de mundo. É isso.
Muito legal, Gui. Muito obrigado aí. Pessoal, a gente ainda teria muitas perguntas, mas infelizmente o nosso tempo é um pouco escasso. Então, a gente vai começar a se encaminhar aqui para o nosso encerramento. Eu vou pedir para o Richard mandar algumas últimas palavras aí e agradecê-lo pela participação dele. Richard, we're heading to our end, unfortunately, because I was loving this conversation and I would have myself a lot of questions for you, and I would love to hear about it. So if you have any tips or suggestions for our participants on what they should focus now as members of teams, as organizations, or as individuals, or as members of our global society, please.
Well, my first tip would be to persuade Cresimentum to do another webinar like this.
I'm all in. I'm all in. We could start right now.
Of course. It's a pleasure.
Because first of all, it's a joy to be with you and to have such lovely questions to listen to and hopefully support the evolution. So I don't know quite what to say. We will be announcing the e-learning platform very soon, and I think many of you will find answers that you need in those e-learning courses. This sounds like a lot of publicity, but it's true. I do think I wanted to, I've written 13 books. I've been doing it for 23 years, and I wanted to put everything together in one place and also link it all together with my latest thinking. And that's what this e-learning program is about. So we'll be announcing that very soon. Other than that, I want to just say to everybody who's listening, it's difficult times. I know some of you are going through difficult experiences, but it will pass. It will pass. And you have to trust that you will get through it. And you have to have hope for the future, because we will get through it. And 6 months or a year from now, it's all going to be a new normal. And what you can do is to embrace that new normal and encourage this new higher consciousness in the world. And the best way to do that is to work on yourself, because consciousness shifts one person at a time. And so everybody here listening in, my request of you is that you begin to think about how you can evolve. How can you become more conscious of how your behaviors affect other people, but also how your consciousness affects your own well-being. Because we create our reality through our thoughts and beliefs. And if you're having a tough time, well, it's because you're creating a tough time. I mean, it all begins in the mind. And so we are more in control than we think. We give up the responsibility of our lives to other people and to situations, but actually we control how we think about things. So my request to you is to realize that and become more conscious of how your behaviors affect other people, and more consciousness of how your thoughts and beliefs affect you.
Excellent. Very marvelous. Bom, pessoal, o Richard tem uma visão muito otimista, é muito gostoso ouvi-lo falar sobre. Eu perguntei para ele se ele tinha, para a gente encerrar, algumas dicas ou sugestões para os nossos participantes, para quem está ouvindo, sejam membros de empresas ou, por si só, membros de uma comunidade global. E o que ele trouxe primeiro tenham esperança, porque este momento vai passar. Em 6 meses ou em 1 ano, nós teremos um novo normal, a gente vai estar operando em um outro nível e de uma outra forma, e abrace esse novo normal, esse novo nível de consciência que está se desenhando, porque essa é a melhor maneira de começar a trabalhar junto com ele e de colaborar. E por onde começar, ele sugeriu, por você mesmo. A mudança começa com você, com o seu desenvolvimento de consciência, então se tornando cada vez mais consciente do impacto que as suas ações têm para outras pessoas e principalmente para você mesmo. Porque muitas vezes a gente está vivendo uma situação ruim, mas ele disse tudo começa na mente. Então nós provavelmente estamos criando ou interpretando essa situação de uma maneira ruim. A gente não percebe muitas vezes que a gente está se prejudicando ou se colocando nela. É isso, Gui? Ou estou mentindo? Foi isso, né?
Não, tá perfeito, tá muito bom. Difícil complementar qualquer coisa dessa parte que o Richard falou. Thank you very much, Richard, one more time to be with you. And it's a pleasure and an honor to be with you in this journey. Pessoal, muito obrigado pela atenção de vocês, por assistirem o nosso webinar. Como o Richard falou, vamos ver se a gente organiza logo o outro ali na frente. Muito obrigado, cuidem de vocês, cuidem dos seus grupos, aproveitem a oportunidade para poder trabalhar o seu próprio processo evolutivo, porque isso é o que nós podemos fazer para ajudar a construir um mundo melhor, não só cuidando de nós, em primeiro lugar, dos nossos grupos, das nossas organizações, para que assim a gente consiga efetivamente influenciar a humanidade nesse processo evolutivo. Muito obrigado.
Mr. Richard, Gui, very much, thank you, muito obrigado. A gente fica muito satisfeito. It was a pleasure to be with you guys here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Obrigado.
Pessoal, o Gui mencionou durante a conversa, durante uma das respostas, que a Crescimento preparou um treinamento com os fundamentos da cultura organizacional. Nós temos, então, atualmente, mais ou menos 2 módulos. A gente tem o CTT, que é o desenvolvimento nas Cultural Transformations Tools, para que isso seja aplicado para a mudança de organizações, enfim, de maneira exponencial. Mas a gente criou também o Fundamentos da Cultura Organizacional. Esse é um treinamento novo, ele vai acontecer no dia 29 de maio, ele também é online, e ele vai poder te ensinar as principais ferramentas, todos os fundamentos, os conceitos da gestão de cultura organizacional, para que você possa aplicar e acelerar a retomada da tua organização no momento em que isso for propício e já começar a colocar algumas coisas em prática. Se vocês quiserem, deem uma olhadinha no nosso chat, o pessoal preparou lá uma surpresa. Eu não sei que surpresa é, mas provavelmente seja uma condição muito especial para vocês. E lá vai ter um link para vocês poderem ter mais informações sobre esse nosso curso, esse nosso treinamento, como ele funciona, o que ele compreende, sua carga horária, datas e tudo mais. Foi um prazer estar com vocês. Eu espero que esse tenha sido um conteúdo relevante e a gente se encontra no próximo Crescimento Connect, tudo bem? Até a próxima!